You think you can just walk away?
Please, just leave me alone.
Not until you learn your lesson. What's your problem, huh?
Leave me alone.
Not so tough now, are you?
I was bullied. My dad didn't call the school. He taught me this. The first punch caught me in the ribs during lunch period, knocking the wind out of me and my turkey sandwich onto the cafeteria floor. Marcus Hendricks stood over me, his friends forming a wall of Letterman jackets, and I knew this was just the beginning of a very long semester. I was 14 and small for my age, a bad combination at Jefferson High. Marcus was 17, held back twice, with shoulders like a linebacker and a mean streak that had been honed over years of getting away with things. He decided I was his new favorite target for reasons I still didn't fully understand. Maybe it was because I'd scored higher than him on the chemistry test. Maybe because I existed. When I came home that Tuesday with a split lip and dirt on my shirt, my mother gasped and reached for the phone. "I'm calling Principal Hendricks right now." "Don't." My father's voice was quiet but firm. He put his hand over hers on the receiver. "Let me talk to him first." Mom looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Dad's face made her stop. She kissed my forehead and left us alone in the kitchen. Dad pulled out a chair and sat across from me. He was a small man himself, 5'7", maybe 160 soaking wet, with weathered hands and a patient face. He worked construction, and I'd always been a little embarrassed that he wasn't bigger, tougher looking, like other kids' fathers. "You want to tell me what happened?" he asked. I told him everything. The daily shoves in the hallway. The names. Today's escalation to actual violence. The way teachers looked the other way because Marcus's uncle was on the school board. When I finished, Dad was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I could call the school. Might help. Might make it worse. Either way, Marcus will still be Marcus, and you'll still have to walk those halls." He leaned forward. "Or I can teach you something that'll matter long after high school ends." "Like what?" "How to fight." I couldn't keep the bitterness out of my voice. "He's twice my size, Dad." "No," Dad said. "I'm going to teach you about power. Real power. Not the kind that comes from fists." Over the next week, Dad didn't teach me to throw a punch. Instead, every evening after dinner, we talked. He told me about his own childhood, growing up the smallest kid in a rough Pittsburgh neighborhood, getting knocked around until he figured out what he called the equation. "People like Marcus," Dad explained, "they get their power from your reaction. From your fear. They're like those pump-up sneakers from the commercials. They need you to give them air, or they deflate." He tapped the kitchen table. "You change the equation, you change everything." So I just ignore him? People always say that. It doesn't work. No, not ignore. That's still giving him what he wants, your avoidance, your fear. I'm talking about something different. Dad's eyes were serious. I'm talking about taking away his stage. He had me practice in front of the bathroom mirror. Relaxed posture. Eye contact without aggression. A slight smile, not mocking, just calm. "You're going to show him that his actions don't define your day," Dad said. "You're going to be unmovable." "But what if he hits me again?" "Then you protect yourself, and you still don't give him the fear. You report it calmly, factually, to someone who'll listen. You document it. You build a record." Dad's jaw tightened. "But you don't give him the satisfaction of seeing you break. That's your power, son. Your composure is a weapon he can't defend against." The following Monday, I walked into school with my heart hammering but my face calm. Marcus spotted me immediately at my locker. "Hey, calculator," he sneered, using his favorite nickname for me. His friends laughed on cue. "Heard you went crying to your daddy." I turned to face him, remembering Dad's words. Shoulders back but loose. Breathing steady. I looked directly at him and said, in a conversational tone, "Hey Marcus. You finish that chemistry homework?" The question clearly threw him. His smirk faltered. "What?" "The assignment. It's due third period. I could explain the atomic bonding part if you need help." I said it genuinely, without sarcasm. His face reddened. I don't need help from. Okay, cool. Offer stands if you change your mind. I turned back to my locker, my hands amazingly steady as I sorted my books. I could feel him standing there, the energy of his anger searching for a target and finding nothing to grab onto. After a long moment, he shoved my shoulder, but lighter than before, uncertain, and walked away. His friends followed, their laughter awkward and confused. It didn't end that day. Marcus tried for weeks to get the reaction he wanted. He knocked my books down. He spread rumors. He tried to trip me in the hallway. Each time, I responded the same way, calm, unaffected, sometimes even friendly. I started documenting every incident in a notebook, just dates and facts, like Dad suggested. The weird thing was, the more I practiced this composure, the more real it became. I stopped performing calmness and started actually feeling it. Marcus was just a scared kid with no skills and a bad home life. I'd heard rumors about his father, and once I saw him that way, he became smaller, even though he still towered over me physically. 6 weeks in, something shifted. Marcus came up to me after chemistry class, alone this time, no audience. That thing you said, he started, then stopped. He looked uncomfortable. About the atomic bonding. Yeah. I got a D on the test. If I fail chemistry, I can't graduate. He wasn't meeting my eyes. Coach says I'm off the team if my grades don't improve. This was it, the moment Dad had told me about. When someone finally drops the armor, Dad had said, that's when you find out what kind of person you want to be. I could have walked away. Could have savored the victory. Instead, I said, library's open after school. I'll be there anyway. You can join if you want. He showed up. We studied for an hour without talking about anything except covalent bonds and electron shells. The next week, he came back. Then the week after that. We never became friends, exactly. But the bullying stopped completely. Marcus started nodding to me in the hallways. Once, when another kid tried to start something with me, Marcus shut it down with a look. At graduation 2 years later, Marcus walked across that stage in his cap and gown, diploma in hand. As he passed my row, he caught my eye and gave me the smallest nod. I nodded back. My father was in the audience that day, watching me graduate with honors and a scholarship to state. Afterward, in the parking lot, I finally asked him the question I'd been holding for 2 years. Dad, how did you know it would work? What if he'd just hit me harder? Dad considered this, looking out over the rows of cars and families celebrating. I didn't know for sure, he admitted. But I knew that whatever happened, you'd learn something more valuable than how to take a punch. You'd learn that you control who you are, not the people trying to bring you down. He smiled. And that's a lesson that'll matter at your first job, your first relationship, every hard thing life throws at you. He was right. I'm 34 now, a high school teacher myself. I've faced down angry parents, administrative politics, and budget cuts that tried to kill our science program. Each time, I hear Dad's voice, change the equation. Be unmovable. Last week, a small freshman named David came to my office after school. He had a black eye and wouldn't look up from his shoes. Mr. Chen, he started, there's this senior who keeps. Sit down, I said gently, pulling out a chair. Let me tell you about something my father taught me when I was your age. I didn't call the principal that day. Instead, I taught David the equation. Because some lessons are too important to outsource, and some kinds of power can only be passed from one person to another, in a quiet room, with patience and faith. Real strength isn't about being the biggest or the loudest. It's about knowing who you are and refusing to let anyone else write your story. That's what my father taught me. That's what I'll keep teaching until I can't anymore.